Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Tall Humes. I'm a board certified physician in the United States, and I have an all non surgical cosmetic practice. Today, I'm going to talk with you about how I market within that practice. Or, as I like to call it, I purchase a laser, and now what? And why do I say that? I say that because at some point, most of us have thought those things. What happens? We buy a new device, and maybe it's our very first device that we're purchasing. And we're super excited, we're getting started, but we're like, oh, I have this. Now, what do I do? Or maybe it's device number 2, 5, 10, but it's something new within the practice that we weren't doing before. Maybe we were already doing laser hair removal and limelight IPL, but now we're bringing on true sculpt body contouring and we haven't done it before. But we want to make sure that we implement it well. Well, how can we do that? The number one thing I always say is use your resources. Use what we have within the practice and use what we're given by the companies. Let's talk with this a little bit in detail. So training. Training is something that's really important. You don't have to do it on the day you get your device. It doesn't even have to be that first week or so. But sometime in the first 2 months after getting your device, make sure that your training's scheduled. Why? Because you want to make sure that you train everyone. You want to train all of the staff, not just your clinicians. I've done this. I've said, oh, only our clinicians know how to do these treatments, and or they're going to perform them. So they're the only ones who need to know how to do them. But in reality, the better all our staff understands it, the better they can talk about it to patients, which ultimately ends up with more and more patients wanting to do those treatments. Right? It helps our clinical staff sell or get the patients in the door for the treatments when our entire staff knows what to do and how to explain it to them. We want them to know not only how to talk about the services, but what goes on in the room. So have them sit in on the training, maybe not the whole thing, but part of it where they can see what goes on. Whenever possible, let them try the treatments. Now, not everyone is going to be a candidate. We can't always treat everyone, but let a few key people maybe get a treatment or at least watch what it's really like to have that treatment. And that means just not only what the treatment is, but how they're doing it. Because when a patient says, what can I expect? They can walk them through it. When you get collateral, things like pamphlets, things like other marketing materials, before and after photos from the company, use them. You will eventually have your own, but at the beginning, it's so nice to have items that you can bring into the practice and use. It may be something that you get via email, it may be something sent to you. Customize them as much as possible and use it so that you can do your marketing and that you don't have to go and do another step. Make sure to get the information on your website. Why? Because if it's not on your website, people don't know that you're doing it. For example, if I'm doing all laser hair removal in my practice and I suddenly bring on True Sculpt ID and now I'm offering body contouring, how are my laser hair removal patients going to know that I've brought this on? Well, one, I might tell them, and we're going to talk a little bit about ways we can tell our existing patients. And two, they may be looking for it, right? They might be doing something like Googling or researching on the web. And if my website doesn't come up, even though they know and trust me, they're not going to come to me for it because they don't know. Also very important is make sure to update your website. What you've seen here in this image is an old website. This is 15 years old, not what we see now, not what we're expecting when we go to somebody's website. Instead, we want something clean, modern. But even this wasn't modern enough for me. So as the times have changed, I went from this website you see here in this sort of reds and oranges to a more sleek website. But honestly, this one looked a little bit too rocker Las Vegas for who we really are. And we decided what we wanted was sleek and modern. So know who you are, right? As you're doing these treatments and as you're offering these services, also think about how you want to portray that to your patients or to anybody coming in through your door who you might want to say, I know what to expect before I walk in that door because I know who they are. I said that we were going to talk about how to market to our existing patients. That's our internal marketing. This is going to be your marketing that's less expensive. Well, we all want to spend as little money as possible and get as many patients in. Now, I'm a big proponent of you have to spend money to make money, but I also like where you can save it anywhere you are. So let's talk a little bit about how we can do that. What does internal marketing do? It targets your existing clientele, your existing patients. It's, as I said, going to be collateral within your offices. We said these are things you can get from a company like Cutera. Use them while you can. Make your own. Also do things like email blasts. So go ahead and as soon as you get your device, put together an email that says coming soon or we now have and explain it. It doesn't have to be a special being sent out to them, but it can as well. So let's say I just recently brought on TrueSculpt Flex almost a year ago at this point. And when I brought it on, it was something new. We had never done muscle stimulation in my practice. We were already doing body contouring, but now we wanted to tell our patients how we can take it to the next level. So we used our internal marketing. put it in an email blast, explained to our patient what it was, told them, this is a treatment that we're now offering. Here are the results you can get. I always say, we don't sell services, we sell outcomes. So whenever I send out an email blast, I like to talk to the patients about what it is they can see as results. So it doesn't necessarily have to be before and after photos, but if you have them, put them in there. And if you have before and after photos, get those on your website, get them into collateral as well. When you do any internal marketing, honestly, when you do external marketing, know your demographic. Who is our demographic? Our demographic in the aesthetic industry is 35 to 50-year-old females. Does that mean that we don't see 20-year-olds? Does that mean we don't see 60 and 70-year-olds? Absolutely not. We also see men, but 90% of the patients who walk through your door will be females. Now, that being said, where you use this is to know where to target your audience. Something like body contouring, we target a lot of men and women because we know that's going to be a little bit more of a mix. If we're talking about things like wrinkle reduction, I'm thinking more of my 50, 60-year-old females. If I'm talking about lip plumping, that might be more of my millennial age, and again, female. So it doesn't mean we don't target the other people, but it does mean that you want to know who your demographic is. For example, you want to know your message. You want to get that out there. If I were to send an email blast with this image, what are you thinking? I'm thinking erectile dysfunction. Not that that's on the forefront of all of our minds, but seriously, when you see this, that's what it says to me. As opposed to if I have a group of women who are all chatting and having fun, it's just a little bit different. This one to me is more intimate. It's more of an intimate type of message as opposed to people kind of playing and having fun. When we do our email blasts, think about how you want to say things. So for us, we went with, does all tox rock? And what we're saying is our toxins, our neurotoxins. We wanted patients to not only think about Botox, but the other toxins we offer. So in the US, Jeuveau recently came out. I'm not sure if you have that in Australia, but it recently came out and we wanted to try it. We wanted to give our patients an opportunity, but we didn't want to take away from what we were already doing. So we put together an email blast that said, does all tox rock? And we said to them, come in, try them out, see for yourself. And with that, we did do a special to get them in. The special was the best on Jeuveau and Dysport because we don't do as much on that, but they still had that opportunity to choose Botox as well. What did we know? We knew who our market was. We knew that we were targeting, again, 35 to 50-year-old females. But that being said, we didn't exclude anybody and we didn't give them the impression that we were marketing something else. External marketing is so important. It's probably what you think about more, right? Internal marketing will sometimes come a little bit more naturally, or it is something that you'll just do or someone in your practice will work on. That being said, external marketing is so important, but it will cost you more. It might be your print, your radio, your billboards, some other type of ads, and especially social media nowadays. I will say that while we started out doing mostly print ads and then billboards 15 years ago, 2005 when we started, nowadays our number one is social media and then some other web marketing as well. So think about where you want to spend your money. Is it going to be on those print ads that people don't see? Is it going to be on some sort of digital marketing like maybe your SEO, your search engine optimization and your search engine marketing? Or is it going to be on social media where maybe it doesn't spend as much? Here for us are our billboards. And what's important if you do this? Know whether it's going to work. Sometimes you don't know if it's going to work until you actually start doing it. But for us, we know billboards work, but we keep them very simple. We keep them on one specific road. So we know that on Colorado Boulevard, I believe, yes, Colorado Boulevard in the middle of Denver, through, Denver, Colorado, which is kind of funny, but that's our thoroughfare. And we know we'll get a lot of calls. We keep it simple. So this one, Botox Rocks, you don't fully have to understand it, but you want to see our name on there and you want to see the number to call. When we brought on tattoo removal, we said, hot or not. You know what I love about this billboard? We got a ton of phone calls. Some people called because they're like, oh, you do tattoo removal? I had no idea. Others called and said, you have naked people up on the road. They don't have to love your billboard. In fact, this one, I don't know if you love it when you see it or you hate it, but whatever matters is that they call, right? We have been curing resting bee face since 2005, and this is everything we do it with, right? It gets the message out there, and people don't have to love your marketing, they just have to see it. That's what's important. As I said, social media is where we spend the majority of our time. Why? Because we can do it easily and we can connect with so many more people. I don't know if you've heard the term spaghetti marketing. That's where you throw something up and you hope it sticks. Well, in the case of our billboards, we're a little bit more spaghetti marketing because we're throwing it up and we're saying, who sees this? We don't really know. With social media, We know who's looking at social media because of the demographics that they have, right? Their kind of numbers that they can put out, but also because we can target our audience as well. What I like to do is focus on two social media channels. I think when you start to focus on more and more and more, it gets really hard. For us, Instagram is definitely our most popular, and then we utilize Facebook as well. TikTok is becoming more popular, but truthfully, it's not really our demographic yet. Do I think it'll get there? Absolutely. The big things you want to do is you want to be authentic and creative, and you want people excited to come to your page. I always say, think about it as you're so excited to see what they post the next day, right? I want everybody so excited, like, oh, what are they going to post today? Almost as if they're visiting their girlfriend for the first time in a few weeks, or they're catching up with them on the phone. So how do you do this? You plan ahead and you think about what you're going to do. In the sense of which social media channels, I said that we use Facebook and we use Instagram. Instagram's our most popular, and why wouldn't it be? There's 1 billion people using Instagram every single month. That's a lot of people. I at first didn't think that many people would be on Instagram and Facebook would be more popular, but our interaction on Instagram just grows and grows and grows. With social media, you want to make sure that you're using existing social media that's out there. This is not my post. This is one of Dr. Kaga's posts. She's a physician in New Jersey. She's posting about TrueSculpt ID and one of her influencers that she's doing it on. And I think this is Snooki, actually. And so here she is posting about it. Well, I utilize that because now I can share it on my social pages. And because of that, it's giving her more views, but also I'm using information that's already out there. You can do the same. You can follow other doctors who have the same devices as you, maybe not your competition up the road, but it could be people on the other side of the country or in another country, that type of a thing. What I do is I follow people that I know, I follow people that honestly are my competition too, and then I pick and choose what I want to share. You can also follow companies like Cutera or their TrueSculpt page. And then from there, you can share the information that they're posting on their pages as well. I love tagging some of them because then they'll share what I've put out there. Hashtags are so important. You want to choose your hashtags. You don't want a hashtag that has 2 people on it. When you start typing in the hashtag, you will see how many people are following that hashtag or have used that hashtag is really a better way to put it. So for example, if you do hashtag body contouring, it's going to bring up if it's been used less than 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, and you want something that's being used fairly regularly. Your ideal window is going to be somewhere in the probably 10 to 100,000 because then there's not as many posts out there, but you'd rather something that's 100,000 to 1,000,000 over something that's 100. So think about your hashtags, play around with them, see which ones are working. I like to kind of keep them in my notes on my phone or on our computer, and then we'll copy and paste those every single time and switch them up as we need to. Make sure to use your city, make sure to use the treatments that you're doing. So think about all of this, and you can even come up with your own hashtag. For example, we always hashtag the name of my business, which is Vital, V-I-T-A-H-L, and we'll do hashtag Vital, so we know we can always bring that hashtag up. Does the look of your Instagram page matter? Yes and no. Honestly, this is pretty, and I like pretty. But will that get you likes and follows? Not necessarily. So if you have someone go to it, you want to make sure that they go to it and they stay. But it doesn't have to be this nice columns or all about the look. What you do want is some consistency. You want to make sure that you are always using a good cover photo for your videos, that if you are doing something like quotes or some sort of words, that it looks somewhat similar, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in a pattern. What kind of things can you post on Instagram? Well, I like to post a lot of different things, but I start with those new services. Remember we said, I just bought a laser, now what do I do? Post about it on your social media. Here we have a couple of our nurses, and they're treating one of our other nurses while they're hanging out, having fun, doing a little bit of flex, right? When we're doing TrueSculpt Flex and it's new to our practice, as soon as we're posting about it, then we start to get patients who are calling and asking and saying, wait, what is this? Right? A lot of times they'll DM us, they'll direct message, or they'll comment on our post. We also want to make sure that we're not only using images of treatments, but also videos. You can't see the videos here, but if you go to our page and you look, you'll see that every few posts we have videos because so many people love looking at videos. When you're doing a video, anytime you can, put either closed caption on there or some sort of words that you want to get across to your viewers. Why? Because nobody really wants to listen to these. Nobody has time. They're laying in bed. They're hanging with their kids. But if there's words on there, you can at least tell them what it is you're doing on that video. Always make sure to show before and afters. Show them what kind of results you can get within your practice, right? They want to see that. Make sure though, when you do that, a few things. Make sure that you have good photos. You don't want to have somebody's face here and then the next one's way back here and you can't tell the results. You also must watermark. And I say that because I've done it wrong before. If we go back to this image here, we see this gentleman, he's got great results of his hair before and after. What's happening in that bottom right corner of the image? It says Vital on it. That's our watermark. Can't see it very well, but it's also easy to crop out. So somebody took this off Facebook and they downloaded or saved it to their photos, cropped out our watermark, and they went ahead and posted it as their own. You don't want that. You want to do what this doctor did. This is Dr. Clement in Louisiana, and she did a great job of watermarking so that you can see along the body, nobody can take that one off, and then between the photos as well. Anytime we're doing events, we always post those on our social media channels because we want to make sure that not only is it our patients that we're emailing about it who know about the events, but also other people in the community that want to come in. What we can do from there is we can also geo-target who we want to see this as almost an ad, or we're boosting that post, and that will help us to get more people to see it and also interact with it, as well as possibly come to the event. Stories have become so big. Are you guys doing stories? I wasn't, and I'm getting better about it. Here are a few of my stories from when I was at CUCF Australia, and we had a great night, right? So I posted about the day, we then had a great night. I'm posting that in my stories. These are going to last for 24 hours, but the good news is they don't really go away. So you can now save those stories, so they're automatically saved, and then you can put them into your highlights. There are 500 million people using Instagram stories. So if that's how many people are using them and you're not, there are other people out there who are catching the attention of your audience. Those highlights I talked about, what are they? So as I have a story, let's say it's about being at CUCF Australia, I will save that into one of my highlight bubbles. Sometimes I'm saving it into one about my kids. Sometimes I'm saving it into one about Cutera or treatments we offer. It really depends on what that story is. And then what can happen is then from there, our patients can go back and they can click on that highlight bubble and they can watch all of the stories that are related. Influencers. I love using influencers. This started for us really interesting. So this influencer here, she is she's a local celebrity in Colorado. She lives up in the mountains. She comes in, she loves to get her laser treatments, especially laser genesis. And every time she comes in, she will do a post about what she's doing. And let's talk a little bit about what those are, right? Maybe it's a post about body contouring. This is a guy who came in, he's a comedian. He's doing a little video, making everyone laugh. This then gets shared. Maybe it's also just a post on their page. You always want to make sure they're posting on their page because you want their followers, right? These people who are influencers may have 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 followers. You want their followers to see what they're doing at your practice. So in this case, this is one of our influencers. She has tons and tons of followers. She goes in, every time she's in, she does a post on her newsfeed and then also stories. And then what happens is she starts replying to those followers when they may ask questions or then when they make comments. We will also, every time her followers comment, if they have a question about the treatment, we will comment back. So it's really important that we know and plan ahead for when she's coming in so that we can make sure that we're watching what's going on. Here you have one that's an influencer in my Chicago office, and what she did is she made a cute little story. We had this story on Instagram, so this is on her Instagram and Facebook, and then we shared that story to our story. So what's really nice, again, is using that content. We can then, from there, save that into our highlights as we were talking about. Make sure that they're interacting. Again, this influencer does a great job of responding to all of her followers that are asking questions. You want to make sure to have longevity with your influencers. And how can you do that? Number one, you can have a contract with them. I know that's sometimes hard to do, but if you put together a contract with them, then you tell them exactly what you want. So we always say we want them to do a newsfeed post and it has to stay there. And we pick either 6 months or a year because we don't want them putting up a post and 24 hours later it's gone. We ask that they do stories and they tag us, and then we share those stories, as I said, to our stories. We ask that they then save their stories into their highlights. So what I love here is that this influencer, she has a highlight that's for us. And what we can do is you can click on that highlight and you can see all of her stories that she's done about coming into Vital. We actually just talked with her, and she was saying how her next thing she wants to do is utilize her treatments on YouTube and really beef that up. Here you can see some of her highlights where she talks about her stories and when she's saved those. I went into her highlights and found this to put on here for you. And then the last thing is you want to make sure to have fun. I don't know if you guys have an elf on a shelf. My child does not yet. I'm trying to stay away from that, but I know they're pretty popular. But here we had our elf, and he was very, very naughty. And every single day there was the elf at Vital, and he would have either his fat reduction, he would bust in and he would take a little bit of Botox. So, we love to put that personality in and again, have people excited to see what we're doing. And then as far as having fun, I love when our team wants to get in on it. So these are these are our nurses, and they actually decided all on their own. They said, you know what, we're having a laser war. And they busted out the goggles, they busted out the lasers, they decided to make a post. And what's great here is the fact that they had fun with it too. And you see their personalities. It makes you want to come in and see them and spend time with them. The last thing I want to talk about is what kind of social media page do you have, right? Whether it's Instagram or Facebook or another social channel. What kind of page should it be? Well, you have to have a business page. So the business itself, so in the case of my business, I happen to own it. It's called Vital, and Vital needs its own page. You can see right here at the bottom, at Vital Med. If you'd like to follow me, I'd love it. But at Vital Med is my business page. And on that business page, we highlight not only me, but our staff, our business, everyone. We also want our staff to have pages, but you have to keep something in mind. When our staff has their own Facebook page, or sorry, their own social media page, and they all do, most of them have Instagram pages, we want them to share the information that we are sharing on our Vital page. But we can't necessarily have them putting that content on theirs first. The reason being is when our patients come in, let's say we do great before and afters of their lips, and that patient gives us the go-ahead to Vital to post about it, it needs to be from Vital because they haven't given somebody else permission. So the way it works within our practice is we will post about it, we will tag the person who did it, and also watermark, if they want, we'll watermark them on that image as well so that they're getting credit so that they can then put it on their page. And when they put it on their page, they do the same thing where they're watermarking Vital on it as well. And then I also have my own personal page where I mix a little bit of my personal stuff as well as my work stuff. So that's the at Dr. Humes page. Again, if you want to follow me, I'm all for it. But what you can see on there is I'll highlight things like my children going on a trip when we can go on trips, as well as when I'm at an event, for example, at CUCF Australia, when we're doing a new service, when I'm getting treatments. I love to talk about when I'm getting treatments because I think it's important for our patients to see what we also get done ourselves. Well, thank you very much. This has been wonderful talking with you about marketing or how I implement new treatments into the practice. It's been great, and have a wonderful day and stay safe.